What's up, everybody? I'm Freddie Prinze Jr. Welcome to GEGG TALK. Today's episode, I'm taking you from Red Dead Redemption 2 to Quentin Tarantino. What? GEGG TALK starts right now.
Good evening and good game. You're now tuned in to JLB and FBJ. Let the good times roll. Welcome to the web show.
So, today's episode, we're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. This is not a new game by any stretch, but for those of you who haven't played it, it's probably free on Game Pass or massively discounted, and this game is as if you've been thrust into an old Western movie and you're the lead character. I love games like this. We spoke about Ghost of Tsushima. I'll be speaking about other games like this in the future that I don't want to give away, but this was a special game, and if you haven't played it, you need to. If you have played it, then I'm going to show you some really cool inspirations from that game that hopefully lead you down some new rabbit holes. So, let's talk Red Dead Redemption 2. We're not talking gameplay. I'm not going to teach you how to play the game. If you played any of the Grand Theft Autos or Red Dead Redemption 1, you'll be fine at this one too. This game was inspired by filmmakers from the 60s making what were called spaghetti westerns, and one in particular. There's another one we're going to speak of, an American director, but first we're going to speak of the Italian Sergio Leone, who, if you're familiar with his work, was famous for the extreme close-up and the wide scope shots where you can see the whole world, and was most famous for the Fistful of Dollars trilogy, the first one being A Fistful of Dollars in 1964. And while redefining the Western genre, the man had never stepped foot on American soil, ever. He filmed all these movies in Italy and in Spain, and he found an actor by the name of Clint Eastwood.
What's your name, dude?
Eastwood. Clint Eastwood.
What kind of stupid name is that?
Who hadn't done much outside some television work in Hollywood, and he was 6'4" and strapping, and he looked kind of rugged. He put him in the lead of these films. There's literally even dubbing in a lot of them because some of the actors didn't speak English. And he made what was called the spaghetti western. And what he did that was so special was he blurred the line between good guys and bad guys, or black hats and white hats, which was pretty much 99.9% of every Western ever made. It was that simple. It was literally black and white. If you were a bad guy, you wore the black hat, you were a criminal, there were no redeeming qualities about you. If you were a good guy, you were a good guy. You didn't fool around, you didn't drink too much, you didn't gamble.
No.
You're very good, you.
No.
You are very good,
There's a lot more to it than that.
You're very good, you.
All of a sudden, this crazy Italian comes in. He says, hold on a second. That's not how human beings are. Morality shifts most of the time based on how stressful the situation you're in is. I personally have seen people sacrifice their morality for one taste at whatever dream they have. And that's what Sergio brought to these films. He found a character that sort of walked down the middle, wasn't good or bad, but you pulled for him because the people around him were far, far worse. Starting to sound like characters you recognize? Video games have literally become this, where you sort of get to choose what side of the line you're going to walk, but no matter what, you're a tough, rugged son of a gun, and you can wear any colored hat you want. Now, storyline inspirations. This is what's crazy. A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. A Fistful of Dollars seems to be the one where they borrowed the most from in Red Dead Redemption 2. If you go as far as even the wardrobe that your characters can wear, look for the vest with the sheepskin wool that folds out at the side, and then watch 1964's A Fistful of Dollars and tell me it's not the exact same wardrobe. Look at the Look at the buildings. That's an easier word to say. You can go all the way to Once Upon a Time in the West, which we're going to get more into in a moment. If you look at just the way the buildings look, the way the characters look, the way the Mexicans look, the way the Americans look, the way the bandits and the law and the marshals look, it's all pulled directly from this trilogy, which is a beautiful trilogy to say the least. In last week's episode, we talked a lot about Akira Kurosawa. Well, this was one of Sergio's biggest inspirations, and he borrowed from him all the time. We're going to get more into inspiration later. But back to Red Dead Redemption 2. What a lot of people tended to notice was that this game felt like The Wild Bunch, which was a film that came out in 1969, directed by Sam Peckinpah, who was more famous for his war movies like The Big Red One, starring a very young Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, in a very, very beautifully tragic role. Peckinpah wanted to make a great Western, and these were inspired from Sergio Leone. He made his trilogy, the last one was in 1968. That was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, a full year before The Wild Bunch came out. What Peckinpah did that was so great, and the elements that he added, was he brought slow motion to the genre. And if you watch The Wild Bunch, you'll even see this in Red Dead Redemption, the first one. Deadeye, when you switch to a slow motion shot to get a better aim and target on your enemies, is very similar to Peckinpah's introduction to the slow motion in his version of what the Wild West would be. And Peckinpah's version was, and that's a crazy name by the way, Peckin, the way it's spelled the way you think, but then Paw with an A-H, not an A-W. And also, The Big Red One, you should see that movie. But, back to Red Dead Redemption 2. In The Wild Bunch, you have these sort of morally ambivalent characters. It's a group of aging outlaws that don't really fit into what was then the modern American lifestyle. And these men, and sometimes women, were being hunted down and just sort of executed because they were living outside the law, which is where the word came from. They didn't see themselves as criminals so much as they just didn't believe in that government because it was new and they didn't like it, as most of us, like Garth from Wayne's World said, we fear change. So anyway, these characters were bad dudes who sometimes did the right thing. And the movie was so honest about that and didn't try to hide it or sugarcoat it or make you fall in love with the protagonists. They simply had worse individuals around them, and as they were motivated, honestly, so did their morality shift. That is literally the gang that you're in Red Dead Redemption 2. It's so close and so beautiful. And they even do the train robbery, which is not a shot for shot, but darn close. And it's such a beautiful tribute. I love the way they put this game together. Forget gameplay, just from a cinematic standpoint. And the little things they do, and you'll see this if you watch Ghost of Tsushima. A lot of this came from Sergio Leone. They use a lot of editing to music. And that's what Sergio did with A Few Dollars More, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West. You would see all these like extreme close-ups with hands on holsters and eyes starting to squint because the sun's so bright. And the star on the sheriff's chest and the bandana around the bandit's neck and all these cool close-ups and then a wide shot of the two gunmen there. But it all happens to music, usually a great guitar in the background. It's like boom, boom. And that's how he would make the edits. It was an amazing way to make film, and he introduced this. And his films literally were the inspiration for a lot of the action sequences you see in action movies. James Cameron has spoken about Sergio Leone, how he would hold his action back until much later, until the third act of the film. And that's what Cameron tried to do with the first Terminator, was take a lot of those rules and apply them into the science fiction universe. But this music to editing is something that is going to lead us to our final topic of the show, and that's Quentin Tarantino. Quentin speaks about Sergio Leone like Christians speak about Jesus. He's the reason Quentin became a director. When he watched Once Upon a Time in the West, which is a film from all the way back in 1968, and it still holds up to this day, even though it's not Sergio's cut, it wasn't his edit, the studio really put their edit together. You guys wanted a Snyder cut, let's get the Leone cut. But this was the film that inspired Quentin, and the best example of this inspiration and the best example of what Sergio Leone's work looked like is in the Kill Bill 1 and 2. He really pays tribute to this, and to Akira to a certain degree as well, in his fight scenes, in the Lucy Liu and Uma Thurman scene, in the Uma Thurman and David Carradine scene. And you'll see tons of this editing, extreme close-ups, everything's done to the beat of the music or the hard twang of the guitar. And it was really a way of him saying thank you to Sergio Leone more than anything else. And it's a beautiful tribute. So if you liked those movies, or if you enjoyed any of Quentin's movies, you gotta go back in time and see the artists that inspired the artists that you love today. And that's what this show is all about every single week. Art inspires art inspires art. And that's a trip from Red Dead Redemption 2 all the way to Quentin Tarantino. I hope you guys dug it. Tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, we play of Catan. And since all our GEGG heads were defeated so badly by the Canadian champion, we brought in a ringer. And you get to hear it here first. And that ringer is, yes, you guessed it, the sinister one, the future Prime Minister and ruler of Canada, Macaulay Culkin, the Incredible Culk, baby. He's back. He came in, cleaned house the first time, and he's back to avenge our good name and legitimately take over Canada. I don't know if you guys knew this. If you do win Catan and you're playing with people from another country, you take over that country. It's a little rule they didn't want you to know about. It's like putting a flag down the way England used to back in the day. Hey, we got a flag. It's ours. Same rules apply to Catan. So make sure you check that out tomorrow. Tons more content for you. Don't forget, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we do our Call of Duty Warzone live streams where you get a chance to win a free autographed personalized picture for you if you pick correctly the place I finish in a Warzone Battle Royale solos match. So please tune into those for us. Tune into this every Thursday night or as often as we can get them out right here at 5 o'clock on GEGGHEAD, exclusively on Facebook.com/GEGGHEAD, or you can see the replay on YouTube.com/GEGGHEAD. Big thanks to our music, that's Transformers and Face. Big thanks to our producer, Gamer83 at GamerMD83. We love you very much, and a big thanks to all our contributors here at GEGGHEAD as we get to have them every single week. Make sure you should give them all a follow, show them as much support as you can, and thank you for watching, and very good evening and good game. Peace!